Hello, this is the emergency desk at City Central Hospital. A patient named Vera Petrova was just admitted after a fainting episode in a shopping mall. She's regained consciousness and mentioned she has a husband, but in the emergency contact form, the person listed is not you. The voice on the other end was clinical, devoid of emotion, just information. But those last three words, not you, landed like a scalpel. I hung up without responding, sat there a moment. My office lights still blinked on the monitor in front of me, but everything else felt distant. Like I'd been ejected from my own life into a colder version of it. I stood, grabbed my coat, and left. By the time I reached the hospital, the sterile air hit me like a wave. Fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead, illuminating the pale green corridors that seemed built more for containment than care. I spotted the room number the nurse had given me, but I didn't step in because I saw him first. Tall, well-groomed, exuding ease and control. Roman. He stood next to Vera's bed, brushing a strand of her hair off her face. She smiled, a soft, knowing smile. Not the kind you give a colleague, not even the kind you give a lover in hiding. No, this was different. This was safe, familiar, claimed. He kissed her on the temple like it was something he'd done 1,000 times before, and she didn't stop him. She didn't even glance toward the glass door behind which I stood. Frozen. I didn't go in. I turned and walked out. The ride home was silent. The streetlights flicked past like a metronome ticking toward a slow realization. I didn't rage, didn't scream, just processed. Quietly, methodically. At home, the apartment felt staged, like one of those fake model units in real estate showrooms. Too neat, too color-coordinated. Nothing personal, nothing truly hers or mine, just curated aesthetics and the faint scent of overpriced candles. On the kitchen counter, her mug still sat with the lipstick print intact. A little crack near the rim I'd never fixed. She always said it gave it character. I touched it gently. Funny how you notice small things right before the big ones fall apart. I opened my laptop. I didn't need to confront her, not yet. First, I needed to know the size of the rot before pulling at the roots. I began with the hospital's record system. Nothing illegal yet. I still had access through a favor I once did for a friend in their IT department. I found her emergency contact forms. Primary, Roman S. Morozov. Relationship, spouse equivalent, backup, none. My name wasn't listed, not even as an afterthought. So this is how you erase someone, not with screaming matches or divorce papers. With a form, a checkbox, a quiet, administrative decision. The silence in the room thickened. She didn't just cheat, she rewrote the cast list. Reassigned the lead, and I was no longer in the story. But I wasn't done reading yet. There's a certain kind of silence that falls over a home when love turns into something else, when the walls still echo with shared memories, but your gut tells you they were lies. That silence filled our apartment the day after I saw Roman kiss my wife. Vera didn't know I had seen them. She returned later that night, calm, composed, a quiet clink of her heels across the floor, a soft hum as she hung up her coat. She smiled at me, softly, sweetly, as if nothing had happened. Strange day, she said, pouring tea. Low blood sugar, I guess. I nodded, said nothing. She sat across from me at the table, scrolling her phone. Her nails tapped the screen with a rhythm that used to feel comforting. Now it grated. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind replayed the hospital scene on a loop, the contact form, the kiss, her silence. At 3:12 a.m., I got out of bed and walked to her bookshelf. Vera was meticulous. Every book had a place, arranged not alphabetically, but aesthetically, by tone, by thickness, sometimes even by mood. I opened one of her old journals. She used them as decor, antique covers, and handwritten pages. I wasn't expecting anything, but between 2 pages of dried flowers, I found nothing. Literally nothing. The pages had been ripped out. The tear was too clean to be accidental. It was like finding a missing tooth in an otherwise perfect smile. Something clicked. I checked another, then another, and finally, tucked deep inside the hollowed space behind a set of travel essays, I found a small, black Nokia flip phone. It wasn't hers, not the one she carried, not the one she used for work. It was off, unregistered, untraceable. The kind of phone used for simplicity or secrecy, or both. I didn't turn it on right away. I placed it on the dining table like a bomb waiting to go off. The next morning, while Vera was in the shower, I powered it up. There were only 2 names in the contact list. One was labeled R, the other lawyer. I opened the messages. The same hotel, 7 p.m., he'll never know. V, he doesn't ask questions anymore. He stopped paying attention years ago. I paused, let that sink in. I didn't rage. I copied the contents to a USB, turned the phone off again, and returned it to its hiding place. The next few days, I began mapping the contours of the lie. I worked from home under the guise of a new freelance contract. In truth, I was watching her, cataloging movements, scanning her laptop, syncing her calendar, cloning her storage to a mirrored drive I kept encrypted. One night while she was out with a friend, I opened her insurance folder. There it was, her latest health insurance update. Emergency contact, Roman Morozov. Spouse consent signed. Beneficiary of payout, Roman. I blinked. My name, any trace of me, was nowhere. But that wasn't what stopped my breath. At the bottom, handwritten in soft ink, a single note. Ensure clean exit. Keep the apartment. I leaned back, the chair creaking beneath me. I stared at the walls of our home. This place had always felt curated. Now I realized it was designed to look stable, while something very different boiled underneath. I opened our shared drawer, the one where we kept old birthday cards, spare keys, warranties for things we never used. There, folded beneath an old restaurant menu, was a note in Vera's handwriting. Dated a year ago. To Ilya, thank you for your quiet strength. I don't know what I'd do without you. Yours always, V. It was the last lie she ever told me in ink. There's a particular kind of pain that doesn't scream. It sits behind your ribs, whispering things you're not ready to hear. For days, that pain settled into me like dust, coating everything I did with doubt, disbelief, and a slow, burning fury. Vera had erased me on paper. The black phone confirmed her secrets, but I still didn't know why. That was the piece I needed. I wasn't interested in confrontation, not yet. I wanted the full story, not a version filtered through tears or regret. I wanted the raw, ugly truth, caught, recorded, undeniable. So I did what I do best. I built a system. I installed a remote access program on her laptop disguised as a system update. I mirrored her Google Drive, synced her call logs from the burner phone to my own. The tech was easy. What surprised me was how sloppy she'd been. There was a second email linked to the burner, registered under a different name. Inside it, I found PDF files of scanned letters, documents, even a version of a will, one that named Roman as her medical proxy and financial executor. Drafted, unsigned, but ready. The life insurance policy uploaded the week before her hospital visit. Updated beneficiary, Roman Morozov. She had plans, legal ones. That night, I waited until she fell asleep beside me, her back warm against mine, her breathing steady. I reached into the drawer again. Not for the note this time, but for something I'd forgotten was there. A slim black voice recorder. I'd used it years ago during a freelance coding consultation when I needed to remember a client's erratic instructions. I tested it, battery full, audio clean. The next morning, I slipped it into the lining of her tote bag, the one she always brought to her office and never let anyone touch. I had stitched the lining myself 2 years ago when the seam tore. She never even noticed. Now it would return the favor. It took 3 days before the first recording came through. Her voice was low, almost amused. She was talking to someone in a cafe, from the clinking cups and soft jazz in the background. No, he doesn't know. He's the type who assumes silence equals peace. A pause. He notices everything but never acts. There was laughter. Male, confident. Roman, you sure you want to do this slow? There are faster ways. Vera's reply was colder. Bess is messy. This way, it's like closing a tab you never opened. I stopped the playback. Something shifted in me. Not rage. Not yet. A colder thing, like stepping into winter barefoot. The second recording was worse. He's like wallpaper. Always there, never seen. I don't even think he'd fight if I served papers. He'll vanish. That's his talent. Disappearing into silence. And then I just need a few more months. I'll get the apartment, the payout, and you'll get me. Something clattered, her ring, maybe, set on the table for emphasis. The next morning, I searched the hallway cabinet for the first aid kit, ostensibly, but what I found instead was an envelope with our mortgage paperwork. I hadn't looked at it in years. Flipping through, something new caught my eye. An addendum, signed digitally. The apartment was now jointly owned, but with survivorship rights assigned to Roman, not me. Meaning, if something happened to Vera, he got everything. And if something happened to me, nothing changed. I was no longer part of the legal frame. That night, while she slept, I added a firewall to her laptop. Not to block her, to trap her. Every keystroke, every click, I wanted a complete blueprint of her betrayal. By now, I wasn't asking why anymore. I was asking how far had she already gone. On Friday, she left for work late, said she had a headache, asked me to pick up her favorite soup from that cafe she always pretended was too pricey. I waited 30 minutes, then opened her laptop. In a folder labeled Tax, I found a subfolder called Personal. Inside a video, I hesitated, then played it. The footage was grainy, a phone camera, probably Roman's. The angle was low, deliberate. They were sitting on our couch, her legs over his. She was laughing, lazily tracing her finger over his shirt. He just doesn't excite me. It's like living with a ghost. He leaned in, voice muffled. So why stay? She paused. Because ghosts don't ask questions, and he still thinks I'm worth something. That's what makes it fun. My stomach churned. The worst part wasn't what she said. It was how casually she said it. Like I was some relic she was repurposing, until the new owner arrived. When she got home that evening, I was making tea. She walked in humming, kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong, and for the first time, I kissed her back. Slow, calm, because now I had everything I needed. Vera always believed silence was submission. That was her first mistake. She thought I didn't act because I was weak, because I was blind. She underestimated what silence really meant for someone like me. It wasn't surrender, it was strategy. By now, I had enough evidence to burn the facade she built and salt the earth beneath it. But I didn't want just exposure. I wanted clarity, precision. I wanted her to see the world collapse, not in a burst, but in the slow unraveling of her own narrative. That morning, she left for a branding retreat with her team, 2 nights, high-end hotel booked under her firm's name. I stayed behind. I wasn't interested in where she was going. I was interested in what she left behind. She'd grown confident, too confident. Her laptop no longer had a password. Her drawers were carelessly stacked. In the pocket of a raincoat she never wore, I found a folded note, half a shopping list, half a to-do plan. At the bottom, update well with Roman. Ask M to draft. The lawyer from the burner phone. I made a mental note. Her tablet was charging near the bed. I opened it, synced to her cloud. Messages, call logs, calendar events. Tuesday afternoon. Lunch with R. Confirm account details. That same night, a message appeared in the shared home laptop we rarely used. An open tab, not even minimized. It was a chat window with Roman. Though, we're on schedule? Ooh, yeah, he's been quiet like he always is. You sure he doesn't know? Even if he suspects, he doesn't know how to fight. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because it proved the point. She thought my silence was the end of the story. But in reality, it was just the comma before the next sentence. By midnight, I had finished sorting everything. The copied audio files, the rewritten insurance policy, the message logs. I created a folder titled Contingency, encrypted, passworded with her mother's maiden name. She'd understand the symbolism when the time came. Inside that folder, I placed it all, every confession, every signature, every betrayal. And then I wrote a letter, not to her, to Roman. You've been gifted something fragile. Let's see what you'll do with it once I'm out of the way. She's yours now. But just so we're clear, this was never about her choosing you. It was about what I decided to leave behind. Attached, the folder link and a copy of the hospital emergency contact form, the first erasure. It would arrive with perfect timing. The following day, I called Vera's assistant at our agency, introduced myself as a third-party IT auditor from an external partner firm, said there had been suspicious login activity on Vera's work accounts, and I needed to confirm her backup device serial number. The assistant gave it to me without hesitation. People rarely question authority when it sounds calm enough. That number unlocked her cloud backup via the work portal. Inside, photos of her and Roman at the lake house, videos of hotel lobbies, timestamped to nights she told me she was working late. One image showed her signing a document labeled Trust Transfer, Addendum C. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. The picture was enough. That evening, I did something symbolic. I took the teacup with the chipped rim, the one she always said had character, and dropped it, deliberately, into the sink. It shattered instantly. Quietly, like something tired of being held together. When Vera returned the next evening, she brought me a gift. A bottle of my favorite whiskey, the one I told her I'd stopped drinking months ago. Thought it might be nice to share, she said with a tilt of her head, playing domestic again. I nodded, poured us each a glass. Hers, just a little more full. We sat in the living room, opposite ends of the couch, as if our bodies already understood what our minds refused to admit. She raised her glass. To us, she said. I clinked mine to hers, watching the amber liquid tremble slightly. To new beginnings, I replied. She smiled. Drank. I did too. Only I kept my eyes on her as I swallowed. At 2 a.m., I uploaded the folder to our shared laptop, hers and mine, labeled it Open if Curious. And then I left the apartment, quietly, like a shadow stepping out of its owner. I didn't pack, didn't leave a note, just walked out into the empty city, the cold night air curling around me like a second skin. There were still things to be done. But for now, I let the silence work. Morning sunlight spilled across the parquet floor like it didn't know what happened last night. The apartment was silent. No smell of coffee, no light hum of her music, just the stillness of consequences. Vera woke alone, reached for my side of the bed, and found it cold. She called my name once, then twice, quieter. She checked the bathroom. My toothbrush was gone. In the kitchen, the whiskey bottle sat empty, 2 glasses still on the table, one with lipstick on the rim, the other untouched since I walked away. Then she saw the laptop. The folder on the desktop was impossible to miss, labeled in plain, disarming font, "Open if curious." Of course she opened it. She watched, listened, read. Each file stripped away the version of herself she'd so carefully curated. The sweet wife, the loyal partner, the woman wronged by boredom. There it was, her voice on the recorder, calling me a ghost. Her messages with Roman, mocking my quiet. Photos of them together in the spaces I paid for, the life I had built, repurposed as their playground. And then, the final blow, a screen recording of the insurance policy edits she'd made. Highlighted, beneficiary Roman Morozov. She closed the laptop slowly, like it burned her, and maybe it did. My phone buzzed an hour later. Vera. I let it ring, buzz again, then again. 3 missed calls, then a voice message. Alea, please, call me. I don't understand what this is. Where are you? That was the first crack. By noon, she sent a 4th message, this one colder, more controlled. We need to talk. If this is some game, I'm not playing it. I smiled at that. Vera hated losing control. That's why silence unnerved her more than shouting. And then finally, a 5th message. Her voice broke. I'm sorry, I didn't think it would go this far. Just please come home. I didn't reply. I was already where I needed to be. That afternoon, I visited a quiet legal office near Arbat. Signed the divorce papers I'd prepared in advance. No negotiations. No arguments. I left her with the apartment just as she wanted. I didn't want the bricks. I wanted the emptiness that would echo in them. Before I left, I handed the clerk one more envelope. To be couriered this evening, express, no return address. It was addressed to Roman Morozov. Inside, the recording of Vera's confessions. Her quote about him not being better, just different. Her cold calculation, documented in full. The final line of the letter read, "She's yours now fully, enjoy the silence." That night, I sat in a cafe I used to frequent alone before marriage made me forget who I was. The city moved past the window, indifferent, mechanical, beautiful. I watched people laugh without lies between them. My phone buzzed once more. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Somewhere she was unraveling. Somewhere he was reading that letter. Somewhere silence was doing what shouting never could, making them listen. No headlines, no scandal, no screaming. It was just erasure. There's 2 people left holding the pieces of a plan built on arrogance, now collapsed under the weight of truth. And me? I walked into the night freer than I had been in years. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't lifted a hand. But I had made something clear. I see everything, I forget nothing, and if you cut me out of the frame, I won't fight to stay. I'll rewrite the story without you in it.